Hello buddies, in this video I will show you my new mod22 DPS fighter build. I'm really hyped to show you this build because it's really different than what you will see everywhere. Because as you may know, right now the meta is currently using augment companions because of all the stats that we lost with the combined rating since the release of mod22. They need to be compensated somewhere else. And now Augment Companion gives a ton of stats, but in this build I will show you that it's not needed to build a Augment build, which can be really different than your normal build that you maybe built in mod 21 because everybody was playing with the Summon Companion. So in this build I'm using a Summon Companion without losing any stats, kind of. It's really close to the max capped. So let's start. So the first step is consumables that I will show you because I forgot them often. So the first one, the most important one, is the watermelon sorbet. It gives you 10% more power and accuracy. Those ones are the legacy watermelon sorbet. The new one gives only 5% each, but you can buy them it's pretty expensive, I know, but it's really needed for this build to be really optimized. In my case, I don't have this problem because I just kept a lot of them since forever, so I have a reserve of tons of watermelon sorbet legacy. Second one is flask of potency, just to get some 5% crit save, and you can buy them really easy on the market. They're pretty cheap. For the stronghold food, I'm using their seared tuna for the extra crit strike. The fourth potion is the Sun Lord's Gift Elixir to get some combat advantage mostly and some accuracy. The fifth one is Invocation Blessing. As you will see later, my stats are pretty much like a bit undercapped. The rating are a bit undercapped except the power. So no matter which one you get from this Invocation Blessing except the power, it will benefit you. So you don't have to fish out one particular kind of Invocation Blessing. You can just pop it and hope it's not power, and that's it. And finally, the Scroll of Fate, Critical Severity. That's the one I chose for the critical severity, but they can be pretty rare to buy on the market. So if you don't find any, that's not a big deal. You will just lose a bit of damage, but that's not really big. So those are the consumables. Also for the quick slot, you see that I have two horns that give action point, the Alliance Battle Horn and one Stone of Health. So those ones are really good for AP regeneration, but you can also use like any kind of quick slot item that you may find, like the Forger box from Avernus. It's a really good one. Or there's also the Hawk that they give us with the last campaign, or like every month there was a different kind of missions to do, so you can use the Hawk there. So let's start with the front page. So the helmet, it's really easy to get. You can buy it with seals. The new seal vendor, there's this helmet that gives you accuracy. It gives 7.5% accuracy, not 750%. And this one is really consistent. It's a bit less stats than, let's say, the Goristro, which is 10%, but the advantage on this one is that it's permanent. As long as you have your stamina above 75%, which you should really have on a fighter, don't ever waste your stamina if you are about to do DPS, because your stamina gives you a lot of stats and damage. So this one is basically the best consistent. You don't have to proc anything, you just use it and that's it. And I use the accuracy reinforcement kit. Ribcage is just the best since forever, since about 19 or 18 maybe, at least since the hunt system. But there is a new one that will release. I don't know if it will be better, but if you go for the mythic version, like next month or something, that it's going to be released, the 1850 item level, you will have to remake this entire build, which is not really a good idea. So maybe keep the bone devil ribcage for now, and I use critical severity reinforcement kit. For the gloves, I use the Spike Defender Van Braces because I don't need to get power. But if you need power, you can use the Wizguard of Precipitation or the Craig Scaler Gauntlet. Depends on what you want, but I prefer the Spike Defender Embrace, and you can get them with the Juma bags in Avernus. For the weapon set, I'm a big advocate of using the Mastercraft weapons. You don't need the +1, it's a bit expensive for nothing. It's just to be fancy to have the +1. You can just buy the regular version, it's much cheaper and it does the job as like the same than the +1. And there's also other weapon sets like the Lionheart weapons that you may want to use, but the thing is it's only 7.5% while Masterwork is 10%, and that's assuming everybody in the party have them, which should happen. But now these days there's the Watcher weapon that went up in popularity because it gave some power, crit and crit save and defense that people really want to cap their crit and crit save most likely. So you might see less Mastercraft weapons, but if you are lucky and you go into trials, you can ask to be in the support group with tanks and healers, and all of them should still play with the Mastercraft weapons, so you don't lose anything from going in the support group. And for the boots, oh yeah, I forgot to explain the reinforcement. I use the heavy slash modification to get some extra damage with heavy slash, and accuracy and recharge speed on this one. You can use anything, it's just to match my stats. Now for the boots, I use the Wasteland Wanderers. If you don't need combat advantage, you can also use the Rusted Iron Legging, but I use the Wasteland Wanderers for the juicy 5% combat advantage that is permanent because I'm a melee class, so I'm always within 20 feet of my enemy. And for the reinforcement kit, it's critical strike on this one. So for the artifact, I want to use the Heart of the Black Dragon as the main artifact, and the other two to complete the set, which gives 10% recharge speed, and on a fighter that has a lot of encounters that do a ton of damage, having 10% recharge speed on them is really, really good. And also, uh, it's a debuff artifact. The Black Dragon is a good debuff artifact. So if a team needs a Black Dragon, you can just equip the set and you are good to go. Because currently there's a lot of Frozen Journal that you can also play, like the Frozen Storyteller Journal that everybody wants to play with, because the set bonus with this journal, the Envenom and the Flayed or the Darkened, they the set bonus procs Band of Air, and that's pretty huge for everybody. So everybody wants to play with the Frozen. So instead of just going with the flow, I'm just playing with an artifact that will be needed in most parties. You can also play with like Reaches, but everybody will want to do the same. It will be either Reaches or Frozen, but I just go with Black Dragon Heart. So Red Dragon and Blue Dragon. For the neck, I use the Demogorgon set. So it's the Demogorgon neck. I've equipped it some combat advantage, like all the DPS should be equipping combat advantage on all of those equipment. And I'll also use the 5% power and 2% accuracy from the ring that we got in Vault of Star and the Band of Air that we got in Hardcore after a lot of farming in Hardcore Vault of Star with the mini bosses. And of course the waste for the Demogorgon. It's like, I think it's the best bonus for now, but there's also the music box set that is pretty nice on fighter because we get a lot of dailies, but I really don't know which is better. And there's also a new set that will be released like in two weeks, because when we will finish a campaign, it will be a new set. So maybe I will use the new set. I don't know yet. So for the shirt, I use a carotid for the 5% combat advantage and the 1.5% recharge speed. Those are the big ones, and there's also double offensive stat that comes with it. It's basically the only shirt that has double offensive stats, like critical strike and accuracy. Most of the others have like different stats, like one offensive and one defensive. And the control resistance negative stat, you don't really care about that much. And also, if you are wondering, there's reinforcement kits on the shirt and the pants. Right now, there's none on the game that can be put in there that do something. You can always put the old, old reinforcement kits from Storm King's Thunder, the Everfrost one, but they don't contribute to anything. Before, like it was fun to equip them because they were giving some item level, which was pretty good with the chicken build. But now there's really no point in equipping reinforcement in shirt and the pants. We just have to wait for the game to put more of them for the shirt and the pants. And the pants are the new one that you get with the seals, I believe. It gives just movement speed, and the bonus is pretty great. It gives a recharge speed when we get hit by a lot. Doesn't happen quite often, but there's also another good thing about these pants is that they give an offensive stat and not double defensive like most of the other pants. It gives a critical severity, which is pretty good for my build, and awareness, so that's why I'm using it. Now for the stats, they look like this when I'm not doing anything. You might compare yourself whenever you are not doing anything or without any kind of buffs. I just have one buff, the little potion here, Sun Lords. I only have that on and nothing else. And for the enhancement, you can equip anything that you need. It's not really necessary to copy this page. It's just those that I chose to match my stats. That's it. So double accuracy one, citrine, double combat advantage one, and for the defense, it's all defense garnet one. Utility is garnet. For forte overload, it's the total damage for more damage, crit chance and accuracy. As you can see there, it says 0 second remaining. That means that even if they expire, they don't destroy yet. I don't know if it's intended, but you can use them even if they are expired right now. You don't have to worry for them to be destroyed. And also for this one, Poison Thorn, the combat enchant. It's like the old Bile Thorn, but it's just the best one for now. And also recharge speed for more recharge speed, but you can also use your movement speed if you want to move fast. So that's pretty much it for the stats. For the power now, it's basically the same as always. All bottom feet, you just use Bull Charge, Commander Strike, and Envelope of Doom. Some people prefer to use Griffin's Wrath. It's as good, just depends on your playstyle. I just prefer to buff my team. Other people prefer to maybe do a bit more damage, even though I'm not sure if it does more damage Griffin's Wrath, but I'm sure that I'm buffing my team with Commander Strike. And I just spam heavy slash, you know, the same old animation cancelling with lifting your shield and unlifting, like just do some animation cancelling, the usual, you know. And you can screenshot this. And for the boons, it's basically really similar as usual. And for the new trial, I will go with this boon that gives me undead damage. So because everything will be undead in the new trial. So that's basically the only change I will do, except that you just put everything in offensive stats and you play with Bloodlust. So yeah, nothing fancy. Guild boon, you just go with the stats that you are missing and also the ability of the boon that you want to choose. For my guild, I have accuracy there. The defense, and the revive sickness for big trials, because I don't have mounts and I prefer when I die to be a bit stronger when I revive. And now, the big part of the build. It's the Summon Striker Companion. I choose to play with the Tutor, which means that it's not an augment. I'm not getting as much stats as other people do, but the Tutor has a really cool feature that gives 5% combat advantage to everybody in the party. Not even the party, everybody in the trial instance. So like all 10 people in the trial gets 5% free combat advantage, which is pretty huge. 5% combat advantage to everybody. It's like the best kind of companion. In theory, since there's a couple of supports that are in the trial, it should be them running this companion because it doesn't give myself individually like anything good. But the thing is, tutor is really expensive on all the platforms. So it's really rare to find someone that actually runs it. So that's why I chose to be the one to maybe sacrifice a bit more of my power to really give it to everybody else. So that's why I'm using the tutor. But if you somehow have a friend that really likes to play with the tutor, there's also other alternatives. The first one is the lion, the stalwart golden lion, that will give a bunch of percentage damage, and it also gives more procs with the bend of air, so that's a really good companion to use. Also, you can use Dritz for 3% more damage to everybody in the party, not just yourself, but it also buffs everyone. Or you can also use a Spine Devil. I don't have the Spine Devil, but it also boosts the entire group. So those 4 companions are like the MVP4 of the striker world right now, since all the other striker companions doesn't really do damage anymore. So all you want is companions that buff the team. That's all I want. Now if you just go to the augment route, you can just play with the Owlbear Cub. It's like the most popular one, or there's also the icosahedron stone somewhere in my inventory. It's not, I don't know if it's still available in the Zen market, but it was like there on Xbox and PlayStation, so you can also try to go with it. I think it's this one. Yeah, icosahedron iron stone. It gives a bunch of stats for augment, but that's just augments, which is not the goal for this build. Companion piece, just stats that goes with your build. Combat advantage, crit, and accuracy, and another one for crit and accuracy, and the big stone that doesn't really do much since my companion doesn't do damage. And for the enhancement, I use the precision to get more crit strike. And the companions now, it's another big part because I use the tame velociraptor. So this one is basically like the masterwork weapons where you get the full potential of this companion when there's 5 people running it. So the goal is to ask all the supports, tanks, healers to run the Tame Velociraptor. It's not a feral. A lot of people are confusing this one with the feral Velociraptor. This one is really cheap. Like you can buy it with 800 trade bars in the trade bar store, or in the Zen, or in the trade the auction house. That's what I wanted to say. So I know that a lot of people will say like, oh, not a lot of people are running it, but every time I'm making a Tom group or Zariel group, I'm always asking the support to run it because it's really beneficial for the support. Like tanks will do more damage themselves, which means more aggro, and healers will just have more power to heal others, right? They can just redistribute their power stats into something else like crit strike, or I guess outgoing healing. You know, good offensive stats for clerics. So you don't lose anything from asking your support to run it. So that's a big requirement because it gives 18.8% power, which without it my power will not be capped, but it's really like it's capped with it. And I also use triple companion, the Battery, the Neverwinter's Knight, for outgoing damage, and the Minsk. So those 3 are the big companion to really buff your damage because it gives raw damage and not stats like crit or combat advantage. It just gives raw stats. So those are basically the best right now. And the utility, I use the Golden Cat for more combat advantage. And finally, for the mounts, I'm using Armor Break here, but you can also use Ferocity. I tried it earlier, but I don't know if it's better. If it's worse, it seemed to be better to run with Ferocity, but I couldn't really know. But with this, I just get more crit severity, which means that my attacks are a bit more stronger. And I use a Toad, of course. That's pretty much mandatory for DPS to run with a 3000 magnitude single target hit. So just run the Toad or the Tunnel Vision. For the insignias, that cost me a lot of AD because before I had some uh, power insignias, but since I made a new build, I had to switch everything to aggression and skill insignias. So as you can see, I have double Assassin's Covenant, one Artificer Persuasion, one Gladiator's Guile, and one Cavalry's Warning. So the big secret of this build is the Cavalry's Warning, because all the other things are pretty standard from all the DPS across, and Cavalry's Warning is really underrated because all of my ratings are not capped. They're like 2000 near the cap. So with this proc, during an artifact call, I just pop my 3 encounters, and after that I just pop my mount, and after my mount, Cavalry's Warning is proccing, and my daily, which I do after the mount, gets the full power of Cavalry's Warning. So my daily does like a lot more damage just because I pop my mount before my daily. And if I'm lucky, my encounters comes back and I can benefit uh, the encounters with the bonus of Cavalry's Warning because it lasts 10 seconds. So that's really good in my opinion to use that. And also since your stats are not capped, like they will be with an augment build, it's perfect since augment builds will not be able to run it. And for the colors, I wouldn't really suggest going for those. Maybe just this one for encounter power, but they are so expensive for nothing really to gain. But I will still show. I will show it to you. The second one is crit save. Third one is just movement speed. Fourth one is stamina gain, and the last one is just pointless rough astral diamonds. So that's pretty pretty nice to have at Mythic. I got them when they were pretty cheap, so for me they were not really expensive. I did a lot of trades for them in the old Avernus map for hunts and stuff like that. So I got them for pretty cheap, but right now they're really expensive. So yeah, also, I just wanted to show you, yeah, my race also, I always forget. I'm a human. There's also different races that you can go for that gives different stats. I don't know like all the races that in which bonus. I know the Metallic Dragonborn is really good. Git is really good, but I prefer the human because it gives me 1% stat for every single stat. And if I want to make a build that as everything capped, for me it made more sense to have like 1% in every stat, and also it gives me defensive stats, so I'm a bit tankier than what I would usually be. And I also give Forte, which translates in, into more power, more accuracy, because I'm a fighter, and all of those things. So I don't know if I showed this one, but I went for strength and dexterity. So that's really my build, but now I wanted to show you something special that I did on Rainer's character builder that I'm going to switch right now. So now we are on Rainer's character builder. So this build, uh, Brainerd did a kind of software where you could just craft your tune whenever you want with any item that you want that is currently in the game. So you don't have to switch stuff around like to know what is the best. You can do all of this in the character builder. So it's really, really nice if you want to make a new build. So basically, as you can see, those are all my stats that I will have when I'm in combat during like when I'm attacking the boss with like the Tame Velociraptor bonus. As you can see right here, it says 18.8% for Raptor Instinct, and I don't have any wasted power, 0% wasted stats, so it's like the perfect stats to aim for. My power rating are like super low, but that's just it just works because it's still 90%, and all of my other ratings are really close to 90%, maybe closer to 85%, and those are really, really strong, and they are getting even stronger when I pop uh, my cavalry's warning. As I said earlier, when I pop my mount power, I get 2000 rating on all of those ratings. So since they are not capped, I have room for this mount power, which gives me a lot more damage than not using cavalry's warning. And also, those are just the stats that I myself provide with the items I have. But if you take into account other classes like the Paladin that gives like critical strike I believe, with one of their class feature, or the Hunter Ranger, the Ranger that gives combat advantage with one of their powers, you will see that this build compensate a bit for that because my crit strike is not capped at 90%, and my combat advantage is pretty much capped, but it will be at 89.5%, so it will not really benefit much from the ranger, but I can also just reorganize my things, like when I have a companion like the golden cat, I can just switch it for the alchemist, which just reduce my combat advantage and increase my accuracy. I can be really flexible like that. So this build is really flexible if you want to just build around something, compared to an augment build where if you change one thing, you are in big trouble. You must change everything if you want to be really min-maxed. So that's the big quality that this build provides. And also, like, this character builder has this exact same stuff that I have on live server. So there's no trickery on that I managed to just increase artificial, like, wrongly my stats just to show you that I achieve high number of stats. Those are all legit. It's just that in character builder there's 200 less item level because he hasn't changed the mastered item level, which is 1250 on live. That's the only thing that is different. But everything else is legit. It's the same as the live server. And I did a bunch of toms uh, earlier today, and the results were really nice. So this build I will really recommend for a fighter, because fighters get a lot of extra stats that other classes don't. Like we get 10% crit strike here and 10% combat advantage whenever our stamina is full. So I will not really recommend this for any other classes because they don't get those bonuses. But if you can try to make a viable build with a striker companion like the Tutor or Dritz or Lion or any other thing, let me know in the comment section so I can check them and maybe give you some advice, or you can tell me also advices on how you can think that can improve on this build. So yeah, I really like this build. It helps the team, it helps everybody. It makes like me more desirable into trial. People are like, oh yeah, this big buddy buff us by 5% CA. That's huge. Let's invite him. So you become more desirable for the team. They maybe start to be a bit more dependent on this 5% CA that they're getting. So that's everything is good for you, and I don't lose much damage. So yeah, that was the build, and hope you liked it, and see you in another video. So bye bye.